Sexual harassment should be treated as a hate crime. It's by Sally Cohn, and this is from the Chicago Tribune. The Harvey Weinstein moment is making us a little bit more aware, and it's safe to say Americans are finally grappling with a complex but crucial idea: sexual harassment. As Gretchen Carlson said in a recent TED Talk, it's not about sex, it's about power. The behaviors we've heard described, although accusations against men such as Charlie Rose and MSNBC's Mark Halperin stem from the notion that women should be subjugated and submissive objects of male power and dominance. But if sexual harassment and sexual assault are not sexual, the modifier is problematic. It seems to minimize the severity of the act or even reclassify it, suggesting it's not just a type of assault, but also a That is what Fox News correspondent at large Geraldo Rivera implied when he said media is a flirty business, and fretted that we may be criminalizing courtship and conflating it with predation, as though flashing one penis at work is a clumsy way of asking someone on a date. In such a universe, women supposedly can't tell the difference between mutual, respectful flirtation and harassment. But because the difference is a blurry line that clueless men with good intentions have a hard time discerning. We have to stop seeing sexual harassment and sexual assault as some sort of flattery of women going awry. In truth, sexual assault has nothing to do with sex or sexuality or flirting or courtship or love. Rather, sexual assault is a kind of hate. The men who gratify themselves by abusing women are getting off not on those women, but on power. These men don't sexually assault women because they like women, but because they despise them as subordinate creatures. We should call it misogynistic harassment and misogynistic assault, not sexual assault. These are hate crimes. I don't mean this in the formal legal sense. If we understand that these crimes are the result of targeted hate rather than misguided lust, we can devise better solutions. The way to combat hate is not only through enforcement against individual perpetrators. We need to fight misogyny, sexism, and systematic marginalization of women and disproportionate empowerment of men. That's what creates the society-wide dynamic in which men think they're better than women. The dynamic is evident in the gender pay gaps, in the unequal burden of domestic chores, in the election of overt misogynists to the presidency, and in the subjection of women to harassment, assault, and rape. The truth is that none of these are aberrant behaviors by aberrant men, or even aberrant forms of affection. They're predictable dynamics of a society that hates women. We need to examine how our boardrooms and stockrooms and classrooms and finally dining rooms teach, incentivize, and perpetuate misogynistic hate. And then rather than focusing on the tawdry details of each scandal, the media and all of us should talk about the structural power imbalance within companies and the culture of misogyny. Specifically, employers shouldn't focus only on accountability. Employers also need to address misogynistic hate that is deep within corporate culture and rooted in business policies, in stingy parental leave rules, and recruiting and promotions, and even male-oriented staff rituals at golf clubs or steakhouses. Companies would recognize that the issue isn't just how women are discouraged from coming forward, but how men in some companies are encouraged to minimize and marginalize women. Misogyny ends up infecting and affecting all of us. Studies show how both women and men have unconscious bias against women. For instance, some studies suggest that both women and men more readily associate men with positive attributes and women with negative. Such evidence suggests that any of us may be more likely to grant a job interview to a man than a woman, or think a successful man is talented while a successful woman is just lucky. That's because we've all grown up inside a rotten barrel of a society that automatically grants men disproportionate power and privilege. Even those of us who are women, or married to women, or have daughters absorb cultural messages and norms about the inherent inferiority of women. That's the rot at the core of misogynistic harassment and assault, a rot that has nothing to do with sex or affection and everything to do with hate. Sally Cohn is a CNN political commentator. and the author of the forthcoming book, The Opposite of Hate. Now, normally I wouldn't read some kind of claptrap like this because it's obvious she is a very misandrous female, a male-hating female that wants to further take the masculinity out of males and make all little boys little girls, because it's not about a sexual act. What she wants to do is actually take the whole Me Too witch hunt and overturn society so that men will actually monitor themselves, or society will actually tamp men down so far to where you can actually reverse all the roles. She wants to take it out of production and accountability and all that, and responsibility and everything you have to do as an adult and everything you have to do as a job, and make it about after 50 years of giving people feminist policies, we need to go ahead and go further and fulfill the feminist dream, which is basically reshape the whole society the way not women, but these women would like to see it. And I just wanted to point this out because more of this is coming. They printed this in the Chicago Tribune. This wasn't on a feminist rag. 2018 will be the year of Me Too in a political realm. As more senators and more congressmen get knocked off by these scandals. Even more of a reason to study MGTOW. Not just look at videos, but study it. Study how to interact with your coworkers, how to interact with women on the street, how to interact with the women that are in your bed. Because if we've seen anything about once women get going with something like this, with this kind of momentum, it has to burn itself out. And we don't know whether it's going to burn itself out in a few months, a few years, or a decade. So it's time to put on your whole armor and not just say, oh, it's a little girl and we don't need to think about her because what can she do? This stuff is getting very serious because like I said, they're shooting the generals, taking out all the big guys, one by one, and sometimes two by two. And slowly but surely, what they want to do is take down the guys and try to replace them with women, and then have the men under them accept it. That is what you call a coup, gentlemen. A lot of people don't believe that it can happen. And normally it can't until it does. Just giving you a heads up, this may be nothing, but I have a funny feeling that we're going to see, hear, and read more of this kind of poison that they're trying to inject into our veins. But with that, I'm going to jump off of here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you on the next one.